The Chain Link podcast. We are your hosts, Grant Grisham.
Also known as Grant Money X, and I'm your other host, Charlie Manning. I have no aliases.
This is episode 1. So going to be a little rough around the edges. Please curb your expectations. We're going to stream for about 30 minutes before the shop closes here. So it's going to be brief. We might expand to like a longer time in the future, but if we like the 30-minute format, we might just stick with it. I don't know. What do you think?
We may keep it short and sweet. We may go to like 45, a tight 45.
Yeah, tight 45. Speaking of time constraints, let's hop right into it. Why don't you say?
Yeah, absolutely. Before the shop closes. So yeah, welcome to the Chain Link Podcast, episode 1. We just got a couple topics that we want to hit and cover and kind of get a feel for how this whole thing works. So let's dive right in. Grant, do you know what was this past weekend?
Yeah, the Pro Tour out in Los Angeles.
PTLA. Bright sunny Los Angeles. Bright sunny Los Angeles. Won by Dromai. Great finals match against Hatchet Dory and Dromai.
An insane finals match.
Really entertaining.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did you see the stream chat where they were calling Arthur, Timothy Chalamet, and Lisan Al Gaib?
I was seeing the different language, and I'm not gonna lie, this is my ignorance showing. I thought it was French, and I was just like, "Oh, because the dude's French, so they're saying French things."
And he kind of looks like Timothy Chalamet, and it was really funny because it was a meme that developed over the course of the top 8, over the course of the day.
Who's Timothy Chalamet?
The actor, the main character in Dune, which is a popular
Oh,
science
he does
fiction
look like
movie.
him. Yeah.
Yeah, we've
Yeah.
explained the joke, everybody. Joke count 1.
Yeah, jokes are inherently ruined when you explain them.
Right? I still think it's funny. So on that, we can talk about sort of the hypest moment of the finals was also the last moment of the finals. You want to speak on that a little bit?
You talking about that sigil pull?
I'm talking about the sigil pull, baby.
That was crazy. That was crazy RNG. That's that like you only see it on Talishar type shit.
Turn 15 or so, been through almost the entire deck, one sigil left. Uh, everybody's watched. I'm assuming that if people are this deep into Flesh and Blood podcast world, they've watched the finals. So we don't have to describe the play exactly.
We don't need to.
But
if you're interested, DM Armada made an outstanding edit on Twitter. I don't know if have you seen it?
I have. It's pretty good.
It was pretty sick.
It was maybe the hypest moment. Literally the one card outer in the deck. PTLA championship on the line, $20,000 on the line. You have to hit
first time at a pro tour.
First time been playing for
a year. 1 year.
Right.
Yeah.
So anybody who thinks that
my child is older than this man's Flesh and Blood career. He's not even 2.
And he's a better Katsu player than you. Ooh.
Well, that's been
Burn
the podcast.
Burn count 1.
Hope you've enjoyed. Mount.
He's coming back, everybody. No, I really high moment. Congrats to Arthur. I was more impressed not with this pulling the sigil because you have one outer, you have to go for it.
Yeah.
But what impresses me is 16 rounds, 8 rounds of classic constructed, 8 rounds of draft, 2 drafts, then the top 8. All of the decisions that went into that all of these players would have had to make over the course of an entire weekend to get to the finals, right?
I don't know. I think that fatigue goes out the window as soon as you hit top 8 at a fucking pro tour. I think as soon as that amount of adrenaline starts pumping, right?
Right.
I mean,
I'm not even necessarily speaking on fatigue, but
oh,
every single game having to make the right decision, and so the overall level of play over the course of the weekend is what really impresses me, and not so much he knew he had one out, he went for it, he got it. It was exciting. Congrats to him. Played the whole match really well, but I am more impressed with the performance that it took to get there. That's my take on it.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
We don't have to. We're not going to.
Speaking of PTLA, we got some spoilers.
We did.
We got some Mistveil spoilers, and
we know what the heroes and the talent are.
It's caused some ruckus. At
People have
least in
opinions.
our world, in our group, it has, right?
People have opinions.
They do.
So we know that the three heroes, there's three all new heroes. We've got Zen the Ninja, Enigma the Illusionist, and I am assuming it's meant to be pronounced New or maybe Nue the Assassin. They all have the Mystic talent, which is the talent for the set, and it appears to be blue focused.
Well, I mean, the color's blue, but it's like a weird mystic.
Hence the name of the talent.
Yeah. So it's like, what's the mechanic? And it's got everybody apprehensive.
Well, we've been confirmed the mechanic is called Chi, and there will be things that generate Chi, and you will use Chi to do things. So, for example, Zen, parts of his, I don't have the abilities memorized, but Zen the ninja has, it looks like it would normally be three resources, but they're blue. And I've been told that that is the icon for Chi. So three Chi, and he can tutor for a combo card, which seems incredibly powerful, but depends on how available Chi is,
Yeah.
which we don't know. We have no way of knowing. I would imagine that there's going to be cards that say like auras, like a rune blood incantation type aura, something like that. Maybe a when this hits, get this chi.
Like a ninja ruin blade hybrid is what you're talking about.
No,
Kind
just
of. Well, I mean, it's
like a.
got like the same vibe as like using rune blades.
I wouldn't say the same vibe as using rune blades, but I that's just like a free design space right there. And I would imagine that would just be a mystic talented card.
I mean, we've seen them try to dig into the auras. There's a ninja aura, there's guardian auras, and of course, they're never used.
They're all terrible.
Yeah, they're all terrible. The only, I think, even item a ninja would use is the shuriken, and
That's a you thing, my man. I think that's just a you thing,
yeah, probably.
probably. But
I don't know. I like it. I think it sets up because it's like a double.
I'm
Hey, okay, hold up.
hold on. Let's stay on topic.
You're right.
Let's
Sorry.
stay on topic. I'm interested in the talent. We will get more spoilers. It comes out on May 31st, so I would imagine after ProQuest season wraps up is when we'll get kind of the deluge of spoilers.
Yeah,
Um, I'm less excited, honestly, about the classes. That's where my opinions are.
same here.
I I understand we're going back to Mysteria. That's where Katsu's from. I was expecting Katsu, honestly. I was expecting Katsu stuff. Zen is a combo oriented ninja from his hero ability. I knew we were getting ninja. That's fine. I don't know how I'm slightly fine with it being an illusionist. That's LSS's favorite class. Sure. Dromide's going to be gone by the time this set comes out anyway. I don't know why we're getting another assassin.
I'm a bit apprehensive about the illusionist
Yeah.
because they just, I mean, I guess as long as they don't print another freaking tome, just don't give them
Well,
a tome.
There's Tome of Ao.
I mean, because there's the one right with the prism.
Yeah,
What
Prism.
is it?
It's light. The light.
Divinity.
There's the light tome, which is divinity. Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's the tome of
Tome of Imperial
Imperial
Flame, which
Flame.
is draconic.
Right. Like
There's
no more tomes, no more
there's
codexes.
going to be a mystic tome because every class and every talent gets a tome.
Yeah. Oh, but what does it have to be illusionist? It's going to be.
It's going to
It's
be a
going to be.
mystic
Let's
tome
be. Yeah.
because it's going to be a mystic tome. Illusionist has a tome called Tome of Ao. I forget what its thing is.
The Mystic Tome's going to
Oh,
be interesting
yeah, I'm sure it's going to be.
because of the three classes that are involved.
I'm sure it will draw two cards and then do a better thing if you have chi, because that's how they're all worded.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how they're all
If it
worded.
ain't broke, don't fix it.
I think that's fine design space. I'm cool with it.
Well, I don't know. I'm just a little
I
scared
just
because illusionists with tomes go hard.
every illusionist that they've printed has been slightly more balanced for that class and for that mechanic. Obviously, Spectra is widely considered to be a mistake. They're never going to print Spectra again. They've told us that. And then Dromai um, is very strong. She'll be leaving. I like the allies, but we've seen how difficult they are to deal with. And now New Prism, all of her allies have Ward, which I think is like the nice balance. Because the thing about Dromai that makes her so difficult to deal with is the dragons invalidate the do I hold this card to attack with or do I hold this card to block with
Yeah.
dynamic that's fundamental to the game. And that's why it's so difficult for so many heroes to deal with her. Whereas if you give the allies ward, where it's if you want this angel to stick around, you have to commit cards out of your hand, or they can also just attack it directly. That's a much more interesting interplay between the two players, in my opinion.
Agreed.
And I think that that is kind of the direction that they're going to go in. Especially like Enigma is her ability is you use chi to make a spectral shield, which already has ward. So I think that's the direction they're going to go in.
And I ran in my Katsu deck with Dromi
Mhm.
leaving, Dramai,
Dragon Lady,
Dragon
Azula,
Lady, Dragon Mommy, with her going LL
hmm
in the near future, very near.
in a week,
I'm
2 weeks.
apprehensive. I'm like, oh, Prism's about to start popping off. So what I
Prism's not
did,
real.
so what I did was I actually, because our buddy, he runs Prism and he runs the
Hmm
library
Yes.
card, and that library will mess you up if you don't have any yellows. So I threw in uh, three yellow 100 wins and three yellow descendants, three yellow surgings, and three yellow bonds.
You're playing 12 yellows?
I'm playing 12 yellows in my Katsu deck.
You're a
Not to
brave
mention, I
man.
got Art of War, I got Tenacity, I have Salt the Wound.
So 21 yellows?
Yep.
Somewhere, some deck builder's crying.
Somewhere some deck builder could suck it because I'm also running energy pots in my Katsu deck, and I'm doing this
You're absolutely insane.
all with synergy, and I will smoke people. I'm telling you, dude, people don't expect the setup. You set up with Katsu just like you would with a KO, and you can really pop off. You really can.
I, ProQuest in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I'm
I'm
telling you.
excited to see it. I'm
I
excited to see it.
I don't think I could. I still don't think I could beat like a Reinar. They just go so hard.
But
Reinar go burr.
Reinhardt does go for it. Um,
But back
back
to
to
it. Yeah,
so I just don't understand why we are getting an assassin. Assassin as a class doesn't excite me. Even if it's talented, it doesn't excite me.
yeah. I mean,
It
maybe the
just
mechanic will be better.
I personally like I'm biased. I was hoping for Runeblade or Wizard. I think that we desperately need another wizard in the game. We have one in CC right now. We don't have any in Blitz if you play that format. And the one wizard that we do have in Classic Constructed is pretty hard locked into you have to play the Wildfire combo. So I don't know. I'm not excited for the assassin. What more can I say? There's not really nothing else to say because we've seen a total of three heroes and
We've
three
seen three
cards.
heroes and three cards,
Yeah.
and each of which are just. I mean, the art is really nice, and I love the fact that they are going into
Mhm.
a more intricate art detail for like beauty instead of just gore. I think that's
Yes.
awesome.
I've always really I don't play it and I don't particularly care for the class, but I have always loved the illusionist art. For
Yeah.
all of the heroes and all the talented illusionists, the art has always been really, really good. I'm a
Kind of
big
wish
fan.
they went with a more like realistic angel for Prism Heralds.
Just a ring of eyes.
Yeah,
They're
exactly.
terrifying.
Just absolutely terrifying
Um,
angels. That would be kind of sick,
one
honestly.
thing on that note, on the art note, one thing I do want to give Flesh and Blood credit for is the art is always like they're not afraid to do bright, colorful art, which I think is the mistake that a lot of TCGs make, and a lot of art in general is it tries to be uh, grim or dark or gory or like in your face. And Flesh and Blood has a lot of cards that are legitimately bright and colorful and fun, like Mischievous Meeps, for
Squizzy
example,
and Floof.
Squizzy and Floof.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if anyone's
And
playing that, but I don't even know if you can.
I really appreciate that about the art.
Yeah.
It's not afraid to be pretty. It's not trying to be cool. It's being pretty. I like that. I think that's a cool thing. But that's all we know about Part the Misfail. The world premiere, no, not the world premiere for Part the Misfail, but the world premiere for Set 14 in September. No, I'm wrong. I'm getting things confused and then getting them backwards again. World premiere for Part the Misfail is in Japan. It coincides with the launch. It's going to be the first set that launches in Japan. I'm excited to see the Japanese players come into the community.
Absolutely.
And
That's going to be great for growth.
I really want, if I can possibly get it, if they reprint it, I want a Japanese tunic.
It seems like a vibe.
I come on, LSS, do it, do it.
I mean, reprint Command and Conquer. Jesus.
Japanese Command and Conquer, Japanese Art of Wars. I think all of that's going to be collector's items. Absolutely. Uh,
Well,
Go ahead.
give me no, never mind.
Ask your question.
I forgot it.
It's gone. It'll
Yeah.
come back before when we do
It's
wrap up.
yeah, it'll be here right in the middle of when we're talking about something else.
Probably. But that's part of the misfail. I'm excited. I am excited to see the generics in the set and the expansion slot. I'm always excited for expansion slot stuff. Moving on, we also have not just a Pro Tour and not just a set announcement. We have one more bit of official LSS news that has come out, and this has really stirred up
Uh,
some debates, some opinions. Berserk is banned, and Crown of Seeds is banned preemptively.
I I've said this. I think that it's dangerous when you start banning cards preemptively
Hmm.
because just like with the law, like the law of the United States, laws are built on each other.
Right?
And I think when you start setting trends with bans, then it can become a habit.
Hmm.
It can become an easy crutch. And I'm not sure if I like the way of this ban list
Hmm.
uh,
Hmm.
developing.
Okay, so I agree. And I've thought about this since the conversation that we had earlier. Fundamentally, on a philosophical level, I disagree with preemptive bans because the cards have done nothing wrong yet. Uh, Specifically for Berserk, because I think that me personally, I really like Crown of Seeds. I understand how in Flesh and Blood that effect is too strong, and that repeated value is too strong. Uh, but with Berserk, that card reads like it would be part of a busted combo. And from what I understand, from what I interpret from the design from the banned announcement, that's exactly why it was banned. But I just don't like it philosophically. The card hasn't broken any formats yet, so why ban it? But it's a card that does not see any play, and despite people's best efforts, they haven't been able to make it work. If you're gonna preemptively ban it, you might as well do it now. I guess. If it makes design easier and gives us an overall better product, I guess I understand.
Yeah. I mean, it's their card game.
You're right.
They can do whatever they want. I think that I can think of probably 10 bands that are better than whatever they just banned. But, hey, I mean, it's their card game.
I would rather see them make more use of the specialization tag than just like if
Yes.
Berserk. I understand KO wasn't in the game when Berserk was printed, but if Berserk was specifically a KO specialization or a Rhinar specialization, um, I think that I would like to see them use it more. I understand that right now specializations tend to be more flavorful than anything, but I would like to see them more tailored to like this is a powerful effect that you can only unlock by playing this hero.
Yeah.
I would like to see that more.
Well, as the game continues to grow,
Hmm.
we will see the diversity of cards expand.
Hmm.
And with that, the complexity of the ban list and maybe even a restricted list will have to inherently become more complex. Those two scale together,
I agree.
just
Yes.
like they did with Magic, right? Magic
Hmm.
was super simple in 1993, and nowadays
In
it's so damn complicated
in
that you
93,
basically have to have a degree to understand the different phases between your draw and untap phase.
people
Like,
were writing books on Magic strategy and deck building in 2015, so it's only gotten worse since then.
yeah,
In 93, you could run a deck that was 15 mountains and 45 lightning bolts and call it a day.
yeah, and you also would
Take me
wager
back.
pink slips at the
Yeah,
start of the game.
it's
So I
like
mean, that's what I'm saying. The
I
complexity of the game will increase. So let's go
right.
ahead, get in front of it, understand that this is a game.
Oh,
This is a game that's going to stay.
okay, so I understand that. Cool. However, if we're talking about cards that limit design space, which is why those two cards were banned, Mask of the Pouncing Lynx tutors anything with two or less attack. Art of War is only going to get better as as better attack actions get printed, Art of War will only get better. As more ways to draw cards and filter get better, Art of War will only get better.
Yeah.
Likewise, I mean, every class has a tutor. Every class has a card that goes and gets a thing. The more arrows we print, the better Knock the Death Whistle gets. The more Runeblade cards we print, the better Become the Art Knight gets, right?
Right.
So to I don't necessarily understand the argument that Berserk hampers design space when we already have things like, specifically, my big three are Mask of the Pouncing Lynx, which is, if you've ever been Fied, especially now with Tenacity, Mask of the Pouncing Lynx is just 6 to 8 damage sitting on the table at the start of the game. So Mask of the Pouncing Lynx, Channel Mount Heroic. We're gonna ban the Earth headpiece, but Channel Mount Heroic is not gonna get touched. If you keep Channel Mount Heroic around, if you get it's I won't say average, but slightly above average value out of Channel is 18 damage because you get 3 attacks off of it over the course of 2 turns is about where you want to be with Channel. That's 18 damage that's just sitting there. So Channel Mount Heroic, Mask of the Pouncing Lynx, and then honestly Beacon of Victory. Beacon of Victory is an insane card, and it's only hampered by the fact that up until recently Bolton was kind of considered unplayable.
Right.
But it being not only a tutor but a pump, you don't always have to get Lumina. Sometimes you can just go get like a Enlightened Strike, Celestial Cataclysm. You can just dome somebody for 7 off of it, on top of whatever you pumped it by. So I don't know. Those cards also seem problematic to me, but that's my opinion.
And that's where my previous point came in. We see trends of cards being banned preemptively because uh, uh, because of a specific way that they have to create these heroes for the future.
Right,
Right, their development process. And these cards are just, there's plenty of other examples of cards that will get in the way of
right,
these things. So what's going to happen to that?
right. Like what?
Right.
Like you know,
It's a slippery slope.
we spent all last summer arguing about three of a kind, right? Even like codex, like codexes will only get better as you get better things to get back with them,
Yep.
right? So
That's
there's
that power creep.
yeah, there are a ton of cards that are problematic in regards to future power creep, uh, or that could potentially could be is my point. So why pick on these two? That one you can't play and one doesn't see play.
Oh, I want to bring this up before I
Okay,
forget.
okay,
My ADHD brain. I think I know why they're coming out with an assassin hero. Reasoning is mom called me. The reasoning, I think it's because they're obviously trying to prevent power creep by making it less powerful cards. Now, KO kind of goes against that because he's such a powerful hero, but at the same time, like, he's not as dominant as some of the people that I would have considered broke in the game. I
yeah,
think
I
he's
agree.
just a good, because you have to have a meta. A good meta
Right.
makes the game fun.
I think that KO is just Iro with brute attacks. That's what the might token reads to me. And
I
he
have,
just presents numbers.
yeah, I have no issues playing against KO because sometimes, yeah, he rolls me. Sometimes I roll him, and then sometimes almost like a slow game.
I really think that KO challenges both players to just do the best fab math. Like evaluate. Okay, so the KO he cast bones. He's gonna enlighten strike me for 11 with go again. Or
Whatever.
what's the math of my hand versus the math that KO is presented? And I think that the person who's better at that math usually wins the game. And like every other hero, KO can sometimes just roll you off the board. That's everything.
Right.
We saw at the Pro Tour the insane bonds into bonds into bonds into bonds turn with Katsu. Sometimes you just get it. You can
I
just do it.
think that is overrated. I think the
It
bonds
worked
into
in that
bonds,
situation.
the bonds into bonds is real nice for like a late game. situation where you have like three bonds, two whelming gust waves, and two descendant gust waves in your hand or in your graveyard with two floating resources, sure, that's great. But I think most of the time,
Well, he sculpted that turn. He was blocking out to sculpt that turn.
oh,
Yeah.
absolutely, he's a professional and he's there for a reason.
Mm.
I'm not saying that's not viable. I'm just saying that I think
I
for
should stop mentioning Katsu for the Katsu tangents.
that's fair.
Uh,
Well, that kind of brings us to the fourth thing we want to talk about,
yes,
which is what we're going to play in ProQuest.
yes, well, our picks for ProQuest, and I think that we should have the caveat here. There's gonna be a distinctly different meta for ProQuest between week 1 and 2 because it is at 996. There's no way Dromai does not LL after week 1 of ProQuest. That's just mathematically impossible
Indeed.
unless everyone agrees to not play her.
We know damn well everyone wants to be the person at the last name on that list
I am
or the
all
first name.
get her out, get her out. Uh, sorry, Dromai fans, but I just think that dragons are not good for the game.
They Dromai went so long being ass that I'm glad that they had their moment, Dromai players, to be good, be the best.
Mm.
And now you have been the best. Now it's time to retire.
Yeah, it's real funny how no one would say that Dromai was the best deck in the format, but at the Pro Tour, if you asked what decks nobody wanted to see, everyone just said Dromai. So that kind
Yep.
of means it's the best deck in the format.
It really is.
So for week one of ProQuest, I would take Dromai. That's my number one pick. Just take her, get your last couple points. Not an easy deck to just pick up and play, but get your reps in. You got 2 weeks ish. If you're not going to take Dromai, I would honestly say take Katsu or KO. So Dromai, Katsu, or KO for week 1. Those are good, solid decks. For week 2, me personally, decks I would play that I have access to, I would either take Bonds Katsu. I would either take Bonds Katsu and just try to really test, like, have you ever played against a Katsu before? Or I would be on some sort of Hatchet Warrior, just because that's what I've been playing a ton of.
Hatchet Dory showing why she is so good at Pro Tour.
Yeah, and that's an interesting thing that I would like to speak on just real quick is but first, I'll get to that. I want to talk about warriors and hatchets for a second. But what decks would you take to ProQuest?
I mean, I have two decks built,
Uh,
so realistically, my choices are between Katsu or Victor Goldmane. I think Dromai is a treacherous match into Victor if you're going against a Dromai that really knows what they're doing. It's an easy roll if you're going against a bad Dromai. It's an easy dub for the Dromai if they're really
mhm.
good.
And I think that that's a really good point to bring up. I would maybe advise people, unless you are really well versed on your deck into Dromai and you feel really confident in that matchup, skip week 1 ProQuest. Just skip it. Unless you want to grind out. If you got a testing partner and you can sit there and you can grind Dromai games versus whatever you want to take to ProQuest, do it. But if you don't just waltz into your ProQuest for week 1 of this and not be prepared to fight Dromai and beat her. Because you like it's exactly like you said. If you're against somebody who just picked up the deck, they're not going to know all the moving pieces. It's going to be fine. The minute you sit down against a real Dromai player and you don't have a plan and you don't have the reps, it's gonna be a slog
It's
for
gonna be a
you.
long game.
It's not gonna be
It's
fun.
gonna be a long game where they fatigue you or kill you.
They're just gonna burn you all, burn them
Yeah,
all
I mean
you out.
it's such a well optimized deck that I don't want to get too much on Tromon. So
Right.
week one, I would probably go with the Katsu I've been
Mhm.
playing, and then week two, and on, I would switch back to Victor.
Right. Uh,
And I
yeah.
think that would be my choice personally, just regardless if I had the decks or not.
And I think that in general, me personally, I would lean toward. I just pick an aggressive deck. Um, I could potentially see myself picking up like Raiden Bolton and just trying to Lumina people out, like tempo people out of the game. Same reason why I
Yep.
would take Katsu. Uh, if you're looking to play more sort of a mid-rangey game, Victor or one of the Hatchet Warriors, which the thing I wanted to speak on, and you kind of mentioned it too with Dromai, we've seen over the past sort of year and a half how Dromai has into the list that it currently is. I've been watching and really interested with the sort of evolution of the warrior decks since heavy hitters came out. So at first it was what can we do with Kasai? And Kasai it was do we play double sabers or do we play sabers and hot streak? People were experimenting with Olympia, et cetera, et cetera. And actually I would say that everyone knew that dual wielding it was very obvious that dual wielding weapons, giving the first swing go again and resetting dynamos every turn was the best thing you could be doing as warrior. And people were doing hatchets with Olympia from the get, kind of. And that kind I think that over time it was we realized that dual weapons were the best thing to do. And for the longest time people were trying to make specifically with Kasai, it was sabers or sabers in a hot streak. And it was back and forth, and I think eventually people settled on sabers. And then after the Olympia won the can't remember if it was an RTN or about it was an RTN. After there's an Olympia 9-0 to battle an RTN. I think that's when people started thinking about hatchets. And then people were developing that and working with that. And then we saw Battle Hardened Keel was one with Hatchet Kasai, right? Because hatchets are the best math, not just specifically in the Warrior Mirror. If I present two sabers and you present two hatchets, you're going to outvalue me because you present more damage turn over turn. So just in these mid-range games that these warriors want to play, hatchets was the best math. Incidentally, it gave you access to cleave, which is a not efficient but the most efficient way for warriors to clear dragons. So hatchets were mathematically the best thing you could do. And then it became a question of what is the best warrior to use this core of hatchets, Blade Runner, Blade Flurry, and dynamos. And it turns out it's Dory because now you get three swings.
Do you think that's going to translate to a post-Dromai world?
Honestly, I don't think so. I don't.
Yeah.
I think that Hatchet Dory is very good, and it has been good. Like that deck has existed. It was just a matter of people settling on it being the best pick for this meta. I think that once Dromai leaves, with Warriors specifically, it will depend on do you value the third swing you get with Dory, plus Dory's specializations, or do you value being able to one of the most powerful turns you can have is like a blood on her hands, spill blood axes turn with Kasai, where you are just it's like a ton of damage. And like being able to give like both weapons dominate turn over turn is very strong, and getting four swings is very strong. That's a really powerful end game to play too. I also think that we might see an uptick in Olympia because instant speed wager is real, real good. The gold is the payoff for getting the gold. I think that we'll see a lot of people experimenting with that. And I think that he'll
Yeah.
get an expansion slot as well.
I think Olympia is going to be the next work in progress. I think that like how Dromai was such a a niche group of people really
Kind of a
working
dark
their
horse,
ass
yeah.
off to like figure out how are we going to make this work. And
Mhm.
then eventually it did really well, right? Kind of what I think Teklo stands want.
I think we're seeing that with Teklo.
No,
No, I
no.
really think we
There's
are.
still too many bad matchups for
There
Teklo.
are still a ton of bad
Like
matchups.
I'm talking dog shit,
Right,
right?
right.
Oh, pardon my French.
I agree. I agree. But I think that we are seeing the same thing happen with Tekla that happened with Dromai. When Dromai and Icelander for that matter, when Dromai and Icelander were first released, like go back and look at some of those lists that people were running. They're unoptimized. People hadn't quite figured out what am I supposed to do. Uh, and I think that that has kind of happened with Teklo. I think that a couple of expansion slots and maybe a supplementary set down the road we will start seeing like Teklo will become more and more part of the meta, and we'll all be miserable. Everyone but the Teklo players will be miserable. You're just gonna
Well,
be like,
I'm
please spawn the singularity and just go ahead and kill me.
I'm 100% with you. I have a few Teklo Majestics just
Stocks.
stocked full of it. I'm ready for it. I'm ready to sell them. Uh, I kind of want to see a Teklo heavy because I like playing my ninja into Teklo. I think it's awesome. Like Can you outblock me? It's like
Right.
it's either 40 to -5 or
I
like
think tenacity helps that
tenacity
matchup
really
even
does
more.
push. Yeah.
Tenacity really pushes that over the, and not that it was a bad matchup to begin with, but tenacity is such an underrated card, I think, out of heavy hitters.
Well, also you got to consider like the 100 wins and the spinning wheel kick lines are just huge, right? You can go 100 wins, spinning wheel kick, 100 wins, wins of
Right.
eternity
Yeah.
with the
Just
mask of pouncing links, and you're just like pushing it over the top. I mean, it's insane.
is it snowing in Christmas land? Is it snowing in
Yeah,
Christmas land right now?
yeah. Why?
You have presents under the tree.
I don't get what you're saying.
Magic Christmas land, where everything goes. You always have the perfect hand, and you have the full combo, and no one ever stops you from doing the thing. Have you
Teklo can't stop you from doing the thing. They don't
have you
hardly
never?
attack.
Whoa, pause. Have you never heard that expression in your years of playing card games, bruh,
I didn't even know what 30AK was. I just
bruh?
realized yesterday it was three of a kind.
Guys, go easy on Grant because he is a father
It
and he has way higher priorities in his life than I do. I just know life Talishar and know everything about cards.
Yep, Fab acronyms. If I need to know what they are,
Acronyms.
I'll just go to Fabrary where they have all the acronyms.
It's true, they do. It's a really cool search function.
Hmm.
All right, I do have a surprise topic before we wrap up.
Okay, sure.
It involves ProQuest. What hair do you think will help me get the most success at ProQuest? So I have two candidates. Ryan Gosling, Place Beyond the Pines, like bleach blonde, dirty blonde, or full on like mohawk.
I think you should shave your head because all that
Absolutely,
hot air is getting trapped.
absolutely not. Out of the question.
See, you can't think because your head's hot, right? That's how I do so well. Is I just I got
Do I look? I am not Pedro from Napoleon Dynamite.
not either. Pedro wishes he could look like me. All
Dude,
right,
he's what that actor is a lot more handsome than either of us.
I
I
disagree. I'm
fair
going to
enough.
disagree.
We can't agree on everything on this podcast.
Well, that's one of the things we're not going to agree on.
Tell you what, if you liked this, if you thought that maybe we weren't two complete idiots, you should leave a comment below and vote for what hairstyle I should have for the ProQuest season.
Yeah. So A, the Ryan Gosling, B, the Mohawk, or C, shave it all off.
C is not an option and will not be
And
considered.
make sure you like and subscribe. If you're watching this on YouTube, if you're watching this on any other platform, we appreciate it. We'll be back next week to talk about more Flesh and Blood. I am Grant Grisham.
And I'm Charlie Manning, and I appreciate you sitting through the first episode. This is only going to get better.
Have a fabtastic